a bunch of lore recaps. And then we also got expansion on Solana and the Demonastery. As for Bright Lights, well, so far it's just been the story of the city, right? Just the background info for the story. So happy that we finally get something about the dynamic man, Teklo Vison. So I guess we'll just read through this. I kind of hope that they, just steam through a whole bunch of it this week leading up to the pre-release weekend. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. So we have the Age of Steam. Metrix, a metropolis of imagination. A place where ambition meets innovation and lives are reinvented every single day in our pioneering past. We welcome those ready to flee the traditions and oppressions of arcane wraith. That is a very interesting starting statement, right? So obviously they have the ore that enables arcane barrier, prevents arcane usage. So they're sort of hinting at a state of oppression. So I'm just curious if there were, a state where wizards just rule the world and then, everyone decided to develop their own sects and just combat them, right? Especially once the Tetatan ore started leaving Metrix and everyone got, arcane barrier. Together, we built a city where fortunes could be made from the sweat of one's brow and the steam of one's machinery. Metrix has come a long way from the boilerplate beginnings. Technology has advanced in leaps and bounds, drawing a new generation of hopefuls to its bright lights. Two promises writ large in glaring neon. So, that's where it gets its name, right? One young man understood those promises better than most. Yes, it is true. What they say about Jules Teklo Vison. He was obsessed with power, but not the paltry, petty power of politics. That is a sentence, is it not? Paltry, petty power of politics. Have you got your pop filters on? He was driven by the power of energy, for he knew that with enough energy, one can do anything that the human mind can conceive of. One can even remake the world. That's sort of bordering on supervillain mentality, is it not? It was in a mothballed corner of the corroding Plumvex Pipes factory, so many P's, that Jules Teklo Vison, I'm saying Jules, right? Because I want to say Julius, but I'm pretty sure Julius is spelled different. But Julius is usually, a nice pioneering regal name. Created the elegant coils and squat patry. So he is Nikola Tesla, right? Verbatim. Basically, just in the world of Wraith, that would forever change the course of Metrix history. The potency hissed and spat between those coils, withering like a netted serpent striving to reach the great... God, there is some great alliteration in this writing. More so than any of the other pieces I've read. Are they all written by the same person? Because it just says LSS Creative Team. Sorry. Little English lit coming out there. A little treasure chest bustling with enough power to vitalize hundreds of homes, shops, and factories. What did he call the breakthrough invention? Techlatic dynamism, after the boy genius who cracked the secret of the coils. So I guess this is our word for electricity. That's a mouthful. And you know what Teklo Vison said once he had doffed his protective eyeglasses, once he looked up at his creation, this wonder that promised to lift us from the obscuring steam of our industrialist past? Eat your clockwork heart out, cogworks. This is the new power in town. Except it isn't. Isn't it interesting, right? So just like the real world, he was sort of overshadowed, so they're probably playing on that with cogworks, right? We have Nikola Tesla as Teklo Vison, and then we have cogworks as Benjamin Franklin, right? So it does make me very interested, right? Because we have obviously Steam counters in-game, but will we get something other than just Evos for Teklo Vison, right? Something that plays off of his new Techlatic dynamism. Suspended trams slice through the steam fogs on I'm sorry, this is gonna do my head in. Steam fog on Techlatic rails. So many T's, R's, and L's. L's and R's are the worst one. I know there's no R's in there, but rails after that make it a bit hard in my head. A few blocks away, currents of electricity transmute helium into plasma at an unprecedented speed, fueling the great gigadrill elevator as it pounds out Tetatan for the miners who scurry up and down the sheer cliffs of Pit 3. So it's used to convert helium into plasma. Now, I don't know chemical engineering or electrical engineering, right? Is that something similar to what we do? I know converting the state of most elements into something else is how we obviously generate electricity, right? The electron shell, mumbo jumbo, the weird, that goes there, then there, then there. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done chemistry. The needle towers over the site office, jagged and patchwork in its unfinished form. It reaches for the clouds with aspiring grace, as if to pin the Teklo Industries brand upon the very fabric of history. A new headquarters to usher in a fresh era of Metrix. Teklo Beeson stands at the epicenter, the evos he wears automatically steadying his swaying frame as another dizzying spell catches him off guard. Interesting, so he's sick. That thing will give everyone vertigo, says the assembly inspector as he enters the site. Joking aside, are you alright, Professor? Okay, no, so he is. That's a joke, right, to make him feel better about whatever his illness is. The man sounds genuinely concerned, but Teklo Beeson can tell from the official's body language that it's feigned, right? So he's just trying to earn Ghana. The sign of it makes me giddy, he covers. Maybe his bad habits are catching up with him. Over 3 decades of long hours in the laboratory, of living only for the work, no family, no recreation, barely enough time spared to sleep and eat, a life devoted to the founding and building of Teklo Industries, a passion committed to progress. The assembly inspector grins in response, another feigned gesture. Then he turns his heels to scan the construction. I need to sign off on your amendments to the upper floor plans, he says in an appraising tone. Of course, Teklo Beeson directs his voice to the prefab office nearby. Ringo? The Spiderbot assistant scuttles out of the prefab office with Teklo Beeson's blueprints clutched in its claws. Teklo Beeson takes the profound plans and spreads them on the workbench. The inspector eyes the bot waringly, taking in as many articulated legs and swiveling eye cameras. The bulbous microprocessor bracketed to its back. Quite the antique you have here, he remarks. Teklo Beeson absently pats the bot on its spherical appendage, like a father might pat his own son on the head. Ringo's been with me since the very beginning. Cool. Can you summon it in game? Right? Because that'd be nice. A nice little spider bot that you can have to contend with illusions. I think more heroes should have access to, side minions. I think Reiner with obviously like wolves or some sort of beast that he's had to wrangle and tame, even if there's some condition is like you pay life or something like that to simulate that Reiner's gone through this battle with the beast and then, dominated it, would be cool. If it was there when you invented Teclanic dynamism. Yes, among others that I built for the purpose. The inspector peers more closely at Ringo. Clockwork and compressed steam. Thought that was more Cogworks' style. Okay, so yeah, we do have that distinction, right? So, for instance, anyone using Steam is backed by Cogworks' technology, whereas anyone using Evos is backed by Teklo Beeson's technology. So that's cool. And that's why we don't see any Steam whatsoever with Teklo Beeson's creations. If it works, it works. I'm not the one to shun technology that has survived the test of time. That explains the boilers in your basement. He raises a bushy eyebrow. Forgive me for saying so, but doesn't that send the wrong message? Teklo Beeson manages an indulgent smile. Electricity is potential incarnate, yet energies of the world fluctuate, attunate, constellate, in patterns far beyond our mundane comprehension. The inspector looks at him uncomprehending. It never hurts to have a reliable backup. Can't argue with that, Professor. The inspector returns to the building plans before him, trying his bureaucratic best to poke holes in Teklo Beeson's dream. Theoretically sound, he reluctantly concedes. I have no idea how you're actually managing it. He points at Ringo. More of these? After a fashion, Inspector's brown eyes take an almost lustful gleam. I would really like to meet your builders. Teklo Beeson rubs the pads of his thumbs across his mustache and smiles at Ringo. The spider bot nods his misshapen head in agreement. Quite impossible, Inspector, answers Teklo Beeson. But what is creativity without a little mystery? Then we have the end of an era. The spear spins between his metallic palms, his galvanic potential reflected off the polished caprice. Is he going to turn into a giant spider? Sorry, just the thought occurred to me. Because I did see the spoiler. I haven't seen what the actual spoiler is. But he obviously assembles an Evo and turns himself into an Evo. Is it going to be a giant spider? Right? Some upgrade to Ringo? That'd actually be pretty sick. And might make me want to actually play Teklo Beeson. Right? Transformers into a giant metal Evo spider. Polished caprice and chassis of the dismembered dolls that litter the old Plume Vex workshop. You'll do, admires Teklo Beeson. He glances across the limbs. Busts and heads of... Okay, and also, again, supervillain. super coming through, of humanoid automatons towards rows of spheres, each of a similar likeness arranged along padded shelves. Every egg contains a yolk of intelligence, each more golden than the last. He's a broodmother? Okay, this is getting interesting but crazy. Brighter minds than most humans have met, yet all have fallen short, too specialized, brilliant at some things, dull at others, and not an ounce of innovation among them. Brains for clever bots of brass and bolts, nothing more. So he's trying to make AI, but it still sounds like he's fixated on spiders. With his free hands, he presses at the temple of a copper cranium on his bench. The back of its skull opens to reveal a concave socket of glowing contacts. He places the sphere gently inside. This one is different, a wild experiment. Possibilities unknown, packed into the perfect microprocessor. You'll do rather nicely. He heaves a shuddering sigh of relief. Already he can feel the thought-choking fog rolling in, the emptying exhaustion that will leave him bedridden for the rest of the day, perhaps the week. A tumor, inoperable, nested like a fat leech against his cortex, suckling away his vitality, his genius, so much to do, yet so little time remaining for him. His intelligence has never failed him. His ideas will live on, undying, while there are minds to remember them. But will he live to see those ideas come to fruition? Teklo-Vison can predict many things, but not that. See that? The iron assembly installs it properly, Ringo. Ringo whirls and beeps. Its enthusiasm is echoed by another bot that scuttles out from behind a pile of brass mannequin parts, and another, lowering itself from the rafters by a high tensile wire. The chorus continues as bots of all shapes and sizes, intents and purposes, crawl, roll, and scuttle and slide out of the workshop's nooks and crannies to witness Teklo-Vison's crowning invention, his true son. So, I'd like to see the son, obviously incorporated into the game, but it would be a crazy twist, right, if, say, like, Max Nitro was his son, right, was an actual robot, given that, again, he has crank inbuilt, he can spawn the hyperdrivers, right, or manufacture them, if you will. Ailing scientist manages a sickly smile for his automaton audience as he cups the skull in his hands and presses its temple with his thumbs. The cranium closes smoothly, concealing the sphere within. So the sphere also could be the FaB, right? Some sort of technological energy source. And just pitch, gain action point, or pitch, gain more resources, something like that. It will be, if that is the case, if it is just pitch, gain action point, that is definitely going to be highly sought after. But I assume it might be mechanologist only. It will be the brains of the operation, their sensory network, their nervous system. Okay, so it's also, are they all linked together, or is he just saying this is just the brains of this one robot? He holds the skull up to his face. Glass eyes stare back. It is strangely conveyed? Pate? I don't know this string. Gives it a jaunty appearance. Coffade pate. It's strangely coified? Pate? Interesting, I'll have to look that up. All that the city lives and feels shall be passed and interpreted in elegant autonometry. Ringo scuttles forward and gently takes the copper head from Teklo-Vison's hand. Thank you, Ringo. May their gratitude to Teklo Industries survive the company's founder. Well, no. Maybe, right? But in most cases, it just gets taken over and repurposed and resold, and you're just there in name. He turns to his console, taps out a code, and hits the execute key. Symbols spray across the screen. He reads quickly, despite the burly film coating his stinging eyes. The biochip hardware appears to have done the trick. Much better than that Metrix rubbish. Interesting. So he's made a new processor versus, I'm guessing this is what, I've already forgot his name. Gallywix? No, that's WoW, isn't it? Cogworks. There we go. Cogworks has crafted, right? The Techlatic generator has achieved perpetuity, I can't say that, essentially just continuous motion. And the thermal readings are within stable parameters. Although the variants might take some time to stabilize, a good thing I had those backup boilers serviced. Wouldn't you all agree? His bots answer with an ensemble of synthesized amenity. music to Teklovisen's ears. He looks out through the workshop window at the needle glowing gold in the afternoon light, bright and beautiful, a tribute to ideas made manifest. He turns back to his console, stumbles through a series of short commands. The execute key echoes with a hollow finality. Analysis filters are in place and tuned to key performance indicators. You'll check on them from time to time, won't you, Ringo? His oldest and most faithful creation bobs its head in abject acknowledgement. Good. Metrix produces a boggling amount of inconsequential data. Yet, if distilled correctly, patiently, the key performance indicators should emerge from the drouse. From the dross? From the dribble? Key performance indicators, yet distilled correctly. Key performance indicators. Yeah, so this sounds like learn from the town and then destroy everyone who doesn't make it good. Again, sorry, I know he looks like Professor X right now, but, you know, I'm thinking Magneto, and I'm thinking his mutants are his technological creations. Everyone else who isn't one can go bye-bye. He lets out a world-weary sigh. The city has a long way to go, but it might yet prove itself worthy. In fact, a gleaming metropolis enters his mind's eye. Towers and tramways, shining with techlatic dynamicism, prosperous people strolling along clean streets, no matter their walk of life, their breath, pristine air, chat about creativity and philosophy, while bots do their work and Evos sustain their bodies. A Metrix happy in its achievements, a utopia just out of reach. I'm counting on it. He yawns, then winces at the sharp pain the movements induce behind his eyes. Go now, Ringo. Give the brain onto its body corporate. Head straight to your charging station, and most importantly, don't worry about me. He smiles at his automaton, his gaze lingering upon his lifelong companion. I'm just going to lie down a little. Present day. Metrix, a city of imagination. A city where one can become more than human. Such is the case of Jules Teklovisen. No one knows what caused the explosion. Fire crews work through the night to douse the inferno, yet still the old Plumevex pipes factory was utterly consumed. No one could have survived the blaze, not even the building's owner and sole living occupant. An effigy has now been installed upon the site, a bold and brilliant likeness cast in holographic bronze. Teklovisen, the man, might have left Metrix for good, but Teklovisen, the legend, will remain with us forever, instructing and inspiring the brightest minds to come. No, he's a giant robot, right? I'm calling it. Yeah, so obviously, I doubt he's done for. He most likely blew up the factory himself, wanting no one to steal his secrets and just them to work in automation. And I assume the cranium is his consciousness, not like one-to-one, right? Because the whole thought is, you know, with teleportational consciousness, you can create something with your likeness, but it's never going to be you, right? It'll never be one-for-one. You can't take you out unless you're transferring your brain or something like that. So I think he's just made his successor, more or less, and he's content and he's blown everything up so no one has access to his laboratory. That's very curious, right? Again, bit of super villain thoughts in there, bit of like doing it for everyone's own good, and again, a big fixation on spiders and eggs, apparently. Hope you enjoyed. So yeah,